This episode is brought to you in part by the Schoolhouse Brewery. I've never seen a brewery nail a theme so well, but between the pencil brew taps, the wooden school chairs, the staff room coffee stout, or just the number of teachers hanging around with the smell of beer on their breath, it's a perfect replica of my high school experience. It's tasty, local craft beer with an incredible community surrounding it. So you got to get down to Schoolhouse Brewery in Windsor, Nova Scotia, and experience just a taste of everything Windsor has to offer. Welcome, listener, to the Friendly Heckler podcast. I'm Zakary Miller, and I've been bringing some amazing artists up on stage to play me their songs and let me talk nonsense to them. I hope this is different than every other interview you've ever heard, and I feel like the live recorded aspect adds a whole other flavor and risk that I personally love to explore. It's like high wire or trapeze without a net. And these lovely performers I bring on are incredibly generous to take that risk, both with me and a live audience. One tasty example in this episode you may hear is a dishwasher vigorously attacking the evening's plates. Delicious food was served, and I love old jazz recordings where you can hear clinking and laughing in the background. But I have to say this constant spraying sound, well, this one got to me. It got the best of me at times, friends, but my guest, the incredible Stephen Fearing, handled it like a champ. We even had to move venues on him last minute, so unfortunately the Spoken Note in Falmouth was under construction. Hopefully we'll do a show there in the future, because it's easily one of the coolest spaces in Nova Scotia. It's a bike shop and instrument shop. Come on, that is just neat. We got to do one there, but they're awesome, so shout out to them. They foisted us onto Schoolhouse Brewery last minute, and they were kind enough to host us, so thank you, Schoolhouse. We conquered the venue change, we coped with the taproom sound effects, and then we were faced with the ultimate live audio coup d'etat partway through the recording this evening. A centuries-old rivalry. A friendly heckler came to the friendly heckler and debated the nature of songwriting with Stephen and me. It was a beautiful dance of opinion and inappropriate timing, all to the tune of the dishwasher cymbals. Jing-a-ling-a-ling. It makes this beautiful symphony simply known as a real-life audience. Again, though, my extremely seasoned and talented guest in this episode, Stephen Fearing, handled it all like a champ. It's funny because the friendly hecklers always leave the show just like everyone else does, thanking you on their way out, waving and smiling, because in their minds, it was such a great night. They love the show so much, they just want to be part of it. Hell, that's why I started this podcast. Come on. Meanwhile, half the audience is so mad at them for ruining parts of the show for everyone else. It's like friendly hecklers love the show so much, they're willing to destroy it in order to express their love. It's what most therapists would call an abusive relationship, really. Most performers have to just accept and appreciate that someone paid the ticket, even if not just to yell at them. But it happens, and it's maybe not dissimilar from many creative people's family dynamics in the first place, but hey now, count me in. But all of that is really why I wanted to record these episodes live, because I love the possibilities and the risk, but also the stark reality of performance and audiences everywhere, who they are, because they're real-life people, and people get excited. People maybe have too much to drink. It happens. This is a podcast just as much for the people on stage, too, as it is off stage. I hope all the performers out there enjoy listening to these. And it's all about the possibilities, the risk, the chaos, because really chaos is just a space in between Earth and the sky, which is really the place I regularly find beauty, so I hope you do too. It was truly amazing to watch Stephen Fearing, though. Watch him work between his brain EQing and tuning in his guitar tone to shake the room, literally, or his hands just moving breezily over the guitar strings and finding all the right notes, just like a turntable needle finds a groove on an LP. It was also natural, and Stephen put me at ease, too. I was genuinely nervous to interview this musical torrent of positive energy and amazing songs. which is why I'm so thrilled he was willing to take the chance on me, run the Friendly Heckler gambit with me and our audience, and join me on stage while he did a small run of shows in Nova Scotia. We talk about Stephen's personal roots, some great family stories, his Ireland days, his upcoming record, and he gives myself and the audience so many performance tips. This is practically a masterclass on stage work. Together we alley-oop the evening's Friendly Heckler and get to know each other. It was beautiful. Really nice to have supper with him beforehand. Stephen's honesty and openness on stage is truly beautiful to watch, and it really balanced out my ridiculous antics. So if you're sick of me, enjoy Stephen's beauty. This was a lot of fun to record. He has an absolutely stunning career that is still finding the magic in every show he plays. He's an absolute legend. So catch Stephen Fearing wherever you can on some of his upcoming dates. The main one I think I'll mention is November 30th at the New Hughes Room in Toronto, Ontario. Toronto, don't hesitate to get your tickets ASAP. And if you're wondering where Stephen is, if he's coming close to you at some point, he was just in the UK even, check out his website, stephenfearing.ca/tour for more, or as they say in Nova Scotia, tour for more. stephenfearing.ca, that's stephenfearing.ca. I think that's all the fun stuff I wanted to mention off the top of this episode. So please enjoy this absolute
Everybody,
legend.
please welcome to the stage, Stephen Fearing.
Driving through the dead of night, 100 miles on one headlight, moving on. At times you can't see what's up ahead, but you make your choice and you make your bed, moving on. Try to heal the things you've broken. Don't leave the words unspoken. Learn to say goodbye and wait for when the moment's golden, and then choose the door that opens straight as the crow flies. Of intentions, you can lose the day, but you get back up and on your way, moving on. There's people talking, they tell you lies, and they flap their lips right before your eyes, moving on. Don't leave the words unspoken. Learn to say goodbye and wait for when the moment's golden, and then choose the door that opens straight as the crow flies, moving on. trust. And all those hurtful things that were said are in the past now. Look ahead. And try to heal the things you've broken. Don't leave the words unspoken, but learn to say goodbye and wait for when the moment's golden, and then choose the door that opens straight as the crow flies. Moving on. Driving through the dead of night, 100 miles on one headlight, moving on. Moving on. Moving on. Moving on. Moving on. Moving on. Thank you, thank you. Levels okay?
Yeah, it sounds good to me. Sound okay to you guys out there? That's the vote of confidence again.
Nice.
You got a huge applause before you even started, so. Yeah, you sound great, man. What a cool tune to start with. Does it feel like you are always moving on?
I've been starting with that song for years because I like it. The first song in a set is sort of like, it's hard to explain, but there's kind of like, it's like the hors d'oeuvre or something. It's like the intro. It's like everybody sit down. So there's a certain requirement that I have, and I would have a hard time putting it into words, but I know it when I hear it. And I haven't written a song yet to replace that one.
Right.
And then when COVID happened, it seemed like a very appropriate song to start shows with, so I was back to it again.
You came back to it.
Yeah,
it's a
well, I never really
spooky
left
opener.
it, but I was sort of justified it again.
It's spooky. And it actually saying that, it reminds me of the song Spooky. That's probably part of it. But it has, and the vocal delivery, it's kind of Fela Kuti. There's
Really?
something radical about the way
Wow.
you're delivering that. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a strong opener.
It's, yeah, it's like, I don't know, there's something about the first song. I want to engage people, you know?
Yeah. Have you cycled through first songs a lot in your life? Like, this
There's
was
a bunch of different ones, but it's kind of like the beginning and the end of the show are sort of there, and then what happens in between can change a little bit.
Do you even write set lists anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, very much.
Okay, so
I sort of went through a phase of not doing it, but it's kind of like it's like a security blanket, you know. Got to have a set list, which I don't have today because today it's going to be kind of off the cuff.
Right. Yeah, I might throw a couple at you.
Yeah. And maybe you will too. Like if there's a song you really want to hear, try me. I might not do it, but I might.
Great attitude. Try me. I'll bite you. I feel like we talked so much before, and now there's so
Yeah.
much I want to cover about your life. Like, I feel like a lot of people in this room might not know that you grew up a bit in Ireland.
Yeah.
Some formative years too. How
Very.
old were you? 6?
I moved there when I was 6.5, and I left when I was 17. So all my schooling was in Dublin.
And you were taught Gaelic.
Yes. And Irish dancing.
It's amazing that you come to Nova Scotia and you don't feel the urge to, I guess I'll play my Gaelic song that I wrote.
Well, it was interesting coming here because something felt different about Nova Scotia, and I couldn't put my finger on it until I went to Newfoundland. And I was talking with my friend Des Walsh, who's a poet in Newfoundland and script writer, a really interesting guy, very, very Newfoundland. And I said, why do I feel more at home in Newfoundland than I do in Nova Scotia? And he said, Nova Scotia, New Scotland. Newfoundland is Irish, and it's Irish Catholic very much. So I immediately kind of relate to it. Nova Scotia always feels like musically sort of there, but there's something that's not quite right from what I'm used to.
Right.
And it's Scottish. It's the new Scottish thing.
You feel
just
like
a little
an
bit different.
outcast again. This is a theme that we kind of popped into. is You feel like the outlaw?
I don't know, but maybe that's a bit too sexy. Maybe the outsider.
That's
I
just
grew up.
sexy.
I grew up as a Protestant in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland. So that automatically, the majority of the Republic of Ireland is Catholic. So I'm right in the middle of that culture. Not that it mattered that much. We were all school kids, but yeah, you're an outsider. And I was a Canadian coming in, so. Yeah, so there's always a sense of looking in from the outside. And I think as a Canadian, there's a feeling of that too in the music world. I think of bands like The Band, which is primarily Canadians who were supposedly playing Americana. They kind of invented it, but
yeah.
I think there's something about being an outsider looking in that gives you a really unique perspective, and it's a good thing to be as a songwriter.
Do you feel like a spy sort of in that way?
I don't feel like a spy. I feel way too nerdy for that. But I definitely
the best
feel
spies
like
are nerds.
I feel like I'm an observer a lot, and I don't mean dispassionately, like but I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic. I wasn't born in Ireland, but I grew up there, and I wasn't I didn't grow up in Canada, but I was born here. So I'm not a Rush fan. And I don't know how to skate worth shit, and hockey like meh, whatever. So
wow, yeah.
I barely got to hang on to my obligatory bottle of maple syrup, but there is a sense of being an observer even in the country I was born in. Yeah.
Wow, you just alienated like all of my listeners, man.
And I'm a folk musician too, so
yeah.
Oh my God.
Get off the radio, sir. Have you actually felt like that with the music industry too a bit? As like, well,
oh yeah. But as you get older, it matters less and less. But yeah, God, there was a period when I was coming up and playing guitar, and Colin Linden, my bandmate, and perhaps one of the greatest guitar players in the world.
Nice.
That's a bit of a claim, but certainly...
You just made it. You go for it, man.
I think he's up there, and certainly as a slide player. But, he was told when he was just starting out in Toronto that he should ditch the guitar because the guitar was done, right? And it was that era of keyboards and those hideous keyboard guitar things. Do you remember the guitar?
Yeah.
So being an acoustic guitar player is just like, oh, yeah, vey. So done. Like in the era of Loverboy and Spandex, to be playing and kind of loving the singer-songwriter style, it was very out of step. So yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm trying to picture you guys in nudie suits with guitars actually right now. It's a pretty sweet band. What was
really weird image.
I'm going to Photoshop it for the album, for the podcast. No, I won't do that. Don't worry. Well, then what's the early stuff that you got into on guitar that started like shaping? If you're growing up in Ireland, there's obviously that pressure to get into traditional Irish music, I guess.
Yeah, except as we were talking earlier, I grew up listening to Top of the Pops, and it was right sort of when I was really starting to get into it. It was that transition from bands like The Sweet and Slade and Status Quo and big bell-bottom sort of post-'60s rock, and punk was coming down. So we all kind of overnight started wearing black skinny jeans, and you take safety pins and you open them. So they're not actually piercing any flesh anywhere, but they look like they are. And then you run a chain from there to your ear.
Wow.
And yeah, so we were all into that. And it was very benign, but...
just to shock the parents.
Totally just to shock the parents. And they were horribly shocked. But at home, secretly, I was playing Gordon Lightfoot and Paul Simon because acoustic guitar, right? I didn't need to plug in. I could kind of go there. My theory is that up until the era of iPhones, we were all deeply influenced by our parents' record collection because it was a radio, which you had no control over, and television. You got what came at you, but you could find something in your parents' collection that you loved and you could put it on. So I found Gordon Lightfoot's Greatest Hits. And that was like, huh. And it also connected me back to Canada, which I secretly had this sort of romantic fantasy relationship with Canada living in Ireland. And so, yeah, I became a Gordon Lightfoot fan even
Secretly.
before I played the guitar.
Were you hiding it from your friends?
Oh, yeah, it was very deeply uncool. Oh, yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
here they are. They're all probably Gordon Lightfoot fans now.
I don't know. I mean, Irish people, he connected with a couple of songs worldwide, but it was sort of came and went. He was like a pop star briefly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you never got into, were you in punk bands then?
No, I was never in a punk band. I was way too introverted for that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So folk was pretty natural then for you. Like
Whatever that is, yes. I mean, there's singer-songwriter music which was embodied by people like Lightfoot and Paul Simon, and I could connect to that right away and try and figure out what they were doing. But I mean, singer-songwriter, Elvis Costello's a singer-songwriter, and he was right of that moment. But it was more the fashion and the kind of aggressiveness. I just couldn't really. I loved it, but I couldn't do it. So I picked up the music that I could sort of play at home.
Did I read you that your first guitar was a nylon string too?
My very first guitar was a gut string guitar, yeah.
Did that kind of shape then what kind of stuff you were playing? Because I feel like Lightfoot is very finger picky too, and that's lends itself.
I did lessons. I learned romanza and air on a G string and those very first sort of early classical pieces.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, and I had a good teacher, and she realized that I was a closet romantic, so she taught me these very romantic pieces that were simple, and in doing so taught me a little bit about tone and projection and stuff like that were really important. And then she left the school that I was going to school at, and the new teacher and I didn't get along at all. And right around then, my grandfather, Norman Stanley Fearing, who was an award-winning baritone and vaudeville music hall singer, he left me $250 in his will. And that was a lot of money in 1976. Yeah, a lot of money. So I debated. It was a motorcycle or a guitar. And I ended up buying the guitar. So I bought a steel string guitar, and that was the end of that.
Whoa, changed your life. Yeah.
I think at first my mother was really happy that I didn't buy the motorcycle, and then later she thought, fuck, I wish he bought the motorcycle.
You told me that one of the first songs you ever wrote, it was really difficult for you.
Terribly hard, yeah.
And you were on a bus?
Yeah, at that point I had moved from Ireland. So there was a guy named Paul Delmain who came to my school in Ireland as an exchange student. And he loved Ireland. So he got his last year of schooling transferred from Minneapolis to Ireland. And he and I became fast friends because the North American thing. And he invited me to come back to Minneapolis when I was done. So my friend Stuart Little, which we didn't know that Stuart Little was a mouse when we left Ireland. So he was in for a rough time. But we moved to Minneapolis together. And shortly thereafter, I found myself on a Greyhound bus going back to Canada to visit my dad, who still lived there, and thinking, okay, I have to write a song. I'm on a Greyhound bus, and I'm supposed to be, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was the hardest fucking thing I've ever done in my life. It was horrible. It was so bad.
Do you have any early songs, though, from that era that you still play or still go back to and kind of...
Not really. Not really. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of records at this point, and there's sort of a point where something just doesn't fit anymore. It feels kind of weird to put it on. So there's an old song of mine called Beguiling Eyes, which people like and want me to play.
Nice.
And it's kind of like, it's sort of like trying to put on those black skinny jeans from back then. And even 5 years ago, that was maybe a little more possible than it is now.
Right.
But, so yeah, they just they sort of move away. They become less, I don't know what it is. There's not one song that I can think of from that era that's really stuck around that I can really play and feel. I feel like I'm playing a cover when I play those tunes.
Oh,
I
interesting.
feel like I'm playing somebody else's tune.
Whoa.
Kind of.
Well, yeah, if you could time travel, I guess, then it would be way easier. But there's an artist that has definitely influenced like constant circles of musicians that I meet, and seems like had a huge influence on you. So I'm really curious what lasting effect Willie P. Bennett had on you.
Well, so when I was living in Ireland and I just picked up the guitar and literally picked it off the wall, it was at my stepfather's house, and it was this guitar that was sort of an ornament. It was kind of a groovy 60s thing to do, hang a guitar on the wall.
Yeah.
And
beater.
but it was actually a reasonable guitar, and it was his ex-wife's guitar, and she had left to go and follow her dream. So this guitar had all sorts of mojo on it that I knew nothing about as a kid. I picked it off the wall and started playing it. And around about that time, my sister Jane, who had left house way ahead of me, sent back a copy of Hobo's Taunt by Willie P. Bennett. She said, I think you might like this. And so I was at that point in my life where I was trying to absorb everything I could get my hands on. And his stuff was really intriguing because it definitely was connected to Gordon Lightfoot and a little bit to Paul Simon and that singer-songwriter thing. But it was quite unique. And so I learned most of the songs and felt really close to him, got a chance to meet him, became friends with him. He became kind of a mentor to me, very much so. And somebody that was older in the business and was very generous with his time and gave me a key to his apartments in Toronto and said, whenever you're in town, the couch is yours. And
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did Willie give you any advice that you give other people now?
Yes. He said one very important piece, which is you must take the music very seriously, and you cannot take yourself seriously at all. And so that's the thing that you have to do, is you have to be really serious, almost like nerdy serious about the music, but you cannot be serious about yourself, which is a really hard thing to do when you're in your 20s. It's hard not to be serious about yourself.
Easier as you get older?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, when the wheels start to come off, then it's pretty easy to not take yourself too seriously.
Do you want to play me another song, actually?
Yeah, anything you want to hear? Particular?
He's...
Rave on Captain. Forget it.
there's...
But thanks for the... I would have to go and watch a YouTube video of somebody else playing that.
You know what? Chris Ludica did that when he was on the podcast. He just figured out the song. He was asking people to Google the lyrics for him halfway through.
I actually had to do that recently. I still don't know how to play it, but me and Mr. Blue, somebody had asked me to play it for a special event, and I had to go and watch a YouTube video of some guy who had learned it, and I had to watch him to remember play the fucking tune.
That's crazy.
It's pretty weird. So I should play something from... I'll play something from way back. Okay.
Oh.
This is sort of attached to this period of my life and going to Ireland and all that. So when my mom remarried, which is why we went to Ireland. She's from Ireland. She married a guy named William Bloodsmith. And
brutal.
Yeah, he was quite a character. If I took on all my stepfather's names, I would be Stephen Fearing Bloodsmith Moon, because she finally ended up married to a guy named Al Moon. So I could start my own cult at that point.
Yeah, and they can't fit that on the Canada Walk of Fame, so...
Anyway, he was Billy Bloodsmith, Uncle Billy as we called him, was a real romantic, and he decided that the way we would travel back to Ireland was to take a train from Vancouver all the way to Montreal and then get on the SS Empress of Canada. And it was the very end of that era where ocean travel was actually a mode of travel. It wasn't cruising. So these ships were still there. I think they're all gone now, but it was like a 3-day journey across the Atlantic. And then we got to Liverpool and then on to Dublin. So years and years later, I'm visiting my mom in Ireland, and I come across this photograph in the attic in my old room, and it's of my mom and my sisters and I and Uncle Billy, as we called him, William Bloodsmith, standing at a train station somewhere on the prairies with this slightly bemused-looking RCMP officer in full outfit, full regalia, like the chaps and the black leather, the whole deal. And it was a Tourism Canada thing, that as a train crossed the country, these guys would meet the train and kind of do a welcome to Canada. I mean, it was weird because we were in Canada already, but
Right.
my stepfather would say, "Arrest this woman," pointing at my mother, and the cop would say, "Why?" And he'd say, "She's stolen my heart." He was Irish. So that all came back when I saw this photograph. I'm standing at a window, I'm pressed against the past, I'm looking on in black and white through the eyes of photographs, and I'm falling into faces, cultivated smiles, two-dimensional. Je me souviens, Canada. Out of Gastown in the morning, on a train in '69, into the arc weld of the rising sun, we left the coast behind, and the wheels rolling a rhythm, and I heard in them for the first time the endless song of traveling out of Canada. Oh, Canada. The longest road I've known, paved with the kind of broken hearts that lead to broken homes. Looking backwards, I remember the cracks in all the paving stones and the distances I've traveled out of Canada. Through the dog days of the prairies, the boundless sky above our heads, and my stepfather looked for Mounties in the streets of Winnipeg. He told them that my mother's love had stole his heart away, and we all stood there posed for Polaroids of Canada. Oh, Canada. The longest road I've known, paved with the kind of broken hearts that lead to broken homes. Looking backwards, I remember the cracks in all the paving stones and the distances I've traveled out of Canada. I awoke wrapped in my mother's arms on the docks of Montreal. The ships lit like Christmas and the moon a swollen ball. And when a sailor spoke of England, I never felt so small. And I waited until the ocean turned from emerald to gray, and the wind threshed the water and washed our wake away. And the seagulls blew like words back to the mouth of the St. Lawrence as we sailed out on the Empress of Canada. Oh, Canada, the longest road I've known, paved with the kind of broken hearts that lead to broken homes. Looking backwards, I remember the cracks in all the paving stones and the distances I've traveled out of Canada. The first country of my youth, my heart was ever drawn to you, like a tongue to a broken tooth, in a world where everyone was always leaving. I was trying to keep my fingertips on Canada. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Holy shit.
Thank you.
What tuning are you playing in?
Drop D.
Just drop D.
Yeah, you'll start to notice that like the whole show is in drop D. I came upon drop D at one point. I think James Keelahan may have showed it to me. And so your low E goes down to a D. So you end up with, in D, and I like to capo a lot, but you get this big, and G's sound great. So you just have to kind of figure your way around it when you're playing like an A and you want to go to boom, boom. It's not there, so you got to fret. But once you figure out that you've got to fret to get those notes that you're used to it's just a great thing. You get all sorts of nice chords out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, drop D's really good.
Did it take you a while to get comfortable with those like expanded chords where there's a lot of
It's actually,
hanging
I'm at a
overtones?
point now, the last Blackie record, it was really interesting because these are songs that I didn't write mostly, and I recorded all my parts in drop D.
Whoa.
I just feel really comfortable in it now. It's kind of like my thing.
Whether they like it or not, whether the engineer likes it or not.
I mean, I can make a part fit, and so,
Yeah.
but it's just, I'm more comfortable in that tuning now than in standard. I mean, I play in standard, but not that much.
You play drop D a lot solo, but now with a full
yeah.
band too.
Pardon me?
Now with a full band too.
Yeah, it just seems to be like what I'm from. Like the guitar works in drop D for me best now, and capoed because I like singing in E's and F's. So if I'm in D and I'm capoed up 2, now I'm in E. So yeah, that seems to be sort of. It's almost like I should have got a guitar that started here.
Right, yeah. You're such a natural music teacher. It's so in your blood because you just went like, all right, class, this is what drop D is. This is why it sounds different. And will you tell me the story of this guitar, this Manzer guitar?
Yeah, I will. I'll try and make it quick. I mean, it's a long story, but so Linda Manzer studied with Jean Larrivée, and how Linda got into building is a really good story. She wanted to be Joni Mitchell, and she's told me this herself, so I don't feel like I'm telling stories out of school. She wanted to be Joni Mitchell. She just adored Joni Mitchell, and so she went down to, I think it was Ring Music in Toronto, to get a dulcimer. And the guy behind the counter, God love him, he would have no idea how he changed the course of Canadian music. But he said to her, well, I can sell you this one, or I can sell you this kit.
Oh, awesome.
And he said, the kit's better. It's a much better woods, and it's really easy to make. So I think you should buy the kit, and I'll show you how to do it. I think he told her how to do it, which is basically just glue the parts together. And so Linda made herself a dulcimer, and at that point she took a hard left because she loved making instruments. So being a female guitar builder was not really a thing in the 70s. In fact, even building your own guitars, nobody was doing it except for this guy named Jean Larrivée, who was out on the west coast of Canada. At the time, he was in Victoria. And she went to him and said, I want to apprentice with you. And he said, fuck, no. And no, no women apprentices, no. And she persisted. And so eventually he said, okay. So she ended up working in his shop alongside Grit Laskin, David Wren, some of the great hand-built makers of sort of the Canadian, first surge of Canadian hand-built guitars. And she built under Larrivée for I don't know how many years. She apprenticed with him. And then her, I know this is, it's already,
No,
I had
that's
to
okay.
rewind all the way back.
This is a podcast where you get to geek out. Do it.
The first guitar she made outside of her relationship with Larrivée, which was the first Manzer ever made, was for Carlos Santana.
Whoa.
Because his drummer had a girlfriend who was Linda's friend. And Carlos Santana wanted an acoustic guitar, and the drummer said, hey, my girlfriend knows this chick who's making guitars, man. And so he asked her to make him a guitar. And she went to Larrivée and said, you're my teacher, shouldn't you be doing this? And he said, no, you got the commission, you build the guitar, good luck.
Wow.
So the first guitar she made was for Carlos Santana, and at that point she went out on her own. And she famously went to a Pat Metheny show with a guitar in hand and waited at the stage door and said, I really want you to try it. And he said, come back to my hotel, let me try the guitar. So he sat there and played her guitar for like 4 hours and said, I'll buy it. And they have a relationship now. I think she's made him 16 or 17 guitars.
That's crazy. That's a good
So
technique.
Linda's, she's amazing. I first came across her 32 years ago, and it was Willie P. Bennett who took me to see her, because my old guild the neck was falling off really badly, and it was sort of unplayable. And Willie said, well, there's this woman named Linda Manzer, you might want to check her stuff out, because we'd gone to Steve's, and we'd gone to Long and McQuaid, and we'd gone to a couple of hand-built guitar places. We phoned Linda. She said, I've got a waiting list. At that point, I think it was 6 months. Now it's like 5 years. And she said, but she kind of hesitated. And she said, I actually do have a guitar you could look at. And so I went to her shop, and she gave me the guitar, and I played it for about 6 hours. She kept poking her head and saying, are you okay? And I was trying to figure out how I could afford this guitar, because it was $2,700, which was way out of my league at that point. Anyway, we figured it out, and I played that guitar for the next 30 years, full on. Like, I spent more time with it than anything else in my life. Yeah. And then so I lived in Guelph in Ontario for 16 years up until 2008, and somewhere around 2004, 2005, this guy started showing up on my gigs. And I'm not really great with faces, but if somebody shows up at a gig enough times, I start to recognize them, and eventually I'll go, hey, what's your name? Clearly there's a connection here. So he introduced himself as Jerry Hayes. He was very shy. And the next show, he brought a guitar case. And he knocked on my stage door and came backstage. Steven, hi, Jerry, how you doing? Good, good. Opened the case up, and so I had a 1989 Manzer. That was when my old guitar was made. He had a 79 Manzer, so much closer to when she left Larrivée's shop. And it looked like a Larrivée. And we took pictures of them beside each other, and we kind of guitar nerded out, because Manzer owners are a very small collection. And anyway, he left. Maybe a year later at another show, same thing. And the third time he brought the guitar.
For a play date.
He said, I want you to have it. And I said, oh my God, Jerry, I can't take this. It's too big. Like, it's much too, like, I'm honored, but I can't take a guitar, because for me, there's a lot of karma around a guitar that gets given to you. And I thought, what if I don't like it? And anyway, So he was a bit shocked, and I kicked myself all the way home because they're not cheap instruments, and I just turned down a 79 Panzer. Anyway, he took it home, he put it on the stand and never touched it again, and called it Stephen's guitar, and passed away maybe a year or two after that. And his widow Diane phoned me and said, okay, when you come get your guitar, it's sitting here. He never touched the thing.
Wow.
So fast forward, I get that Jerry Hayes guitar. There's something wrong with it. It needs a neck reset. That's a $2,000 job. So if I'm going to sink $2,000 into a guitar, I better know that I'm going to own it and play it. So I didn't know what to do. And Linda said, give me the guitar. I'll reset the neck. I'll refinish it. And if you like it, you owe me $2,000, and if you don't, I'll sell it, and I'll build you another guitar. And that's what this is. Wow. So in 2019, she presented me with this guitar. So this is the guitar that Jerry Hayes bought from me by giving me his guitar.
From 1979. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling that.
And it was my silver lining through COVID, because if I'd had the year that I thought I was going to have in 21 and 22, this would still be at home just, breaking in. But instead, I played it every day,
It kept you sane.
Yeah, the old guitar went away about a year ago. It's just in a cupboard at home. Like, I don't play it anymore. It's weird, but
it needs a play date.
Yeah, it needs a big rest from me.
Really?
Hitting it and spitting on it.
Do you work your instruments pretty hard? Because I was thinking, watching you play that last song, like, I've never seen somebody attack a guitar so gently. Like, I'm appreciating how large your hands are, and that's like a regular sized guitar, but it looked like a fiddle in your hands for a while there.
Well, I use plastic nails, so that's a big part of the picky sort of. It's a way to finger pick, but have a lot of attack and projection. And because I studied classical guitar, that was my start. So I always gravitated to finger style, but playing with the pads of your fingers night after night on steel strings, you're going to get blood all over your guitar. There's just no two ways around it. Your fingers won't keep up and your nails won't keep up. So plastic nails.
Can I take a good look at them? I'm so curious. Wait, do you go to do you go to a salon to get that done?
No, I do it myself.
You do it yourself? That's amazing. And just glue them on, basically?
No, it's the powder liquid thing. The glue-ons will fly off in the middle of the show, and it makes people feel like vomiting if your nail comes off.
Yeah, like it's a guar show or something. That's amazing. Wow. Actually, that makes me think of a pretty sweet finger pick song that I would love to hear you play, if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'm going to play the song in a reverse order. This is, hang on a second, I just got it.
That's okay. This pedal rig is there's so many lights. It's like Vegas down here.
There we go. Just looking for a little slap.
Oh.
So my wife's name is Christine.
Yes.
I wrote this for her, and it's a good hit the guitar hard kind of song.
Awesome.
But I'm intrigued by taking styles that are, everybody knows them, a certain style of song, and kind of subvert it a little bit. So the old rock and roll songs like Maybelline and those songs, I just love them so much. But how do you sort of deal with rock and roll like that when you're over 50? Because it's sometimes a bit of a stretch. So that's what this song's about. Christine, I'm our rodeo queen. Christine, I'm our rodeo queen. She got a heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline. I was sleeping on the couch, I was eating humble pie, until I learned to see the things she said with her eye. Christine, I'm our rodeo queen. She got a heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline. Oh, my woman's like a tea bag, you throw her in the pot, but you never know how strong she gets until the water's hot. Christine, I'm our rodeo queen. She got a heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline. All right. She's my coffee, I tell you why, enough caffeine fiend to make a dead man fly. I think about the gals that I knew before she got the real fireworks start the Third World War. Christine, 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 a heart full of soul, a soul full of gasoline. To make a dead man fly. Think about the gals that I knew before she got the real fireworks start the Third World War. Christine, Christine, she got a heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline. She loved me like a river, loved me like the rain. I was dying in the desert like a dog on a chain. Christine, Christine, my heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline. She got a heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline. A heart full of soul, a soul full of gasoline.
Thank you for playing that song. That was definitely on my list of friendly heckles.
Excellent.
And I'm so glad you jumped my list. It's
Okay.
like, did you see the list?
No.
Wow.
No, I'm glad you want to hear that one. I love playing that. That one's that's a good workout.
Really?
Yeah.
So you do vocal workups, I guess. You work out your voice before doing a show, right? How much do you lift? Sorry, I had to do it. But
my mom's a trained soprano, right? And my aunt is too.
And your grandfather was a baritone?
My grandfather, yeah. So there's a lot of vocalists in my family, and I sort of, when you pick something up, you think you're the first person to ever do it in the world, and certainly in your family. So it gradually dawned on me that I'm very much in the family tradition. But my aunt and my mother were asking me a couple of years ago, so what do you do for your daily vocal thing? And I was like, what?
You until a couple years ago?
Yeah.
You had never. Wow.
Not really. I'd come to a show and I'd do a little bit of, but I never really thought about it in between. And they said, oh, darling, you must. As your voice gets older, it's not good. So when COVID hit, I went for a period of about 2 months where I didn't really sing. I mean, there was little streaming things, but nothing like this. There's something that happens in a live performance where everything gets put on 10, and that's when, if you're not in shape, that's when you'll start to crack and lose your voice and all that. So I realized, oh my God, this thing's going to go on for a long time. And if I don't have some kind of routine, I'm going to lose my mind, but I might lose my voice too. So I I found a whole bunch of YouTube videos of these teachers that just sit there with the piano and go, okay, today's exercise, and you just follow it along. And it's like having a piano accompanist. And lo and behold, I mean, it's good for the voice, but it was so good for the brain. Like, it made a huge difference to my mental health. Just the act of moving a column of air up and down through your body. Like, if that's what you do every night, and then you suddenly stop, it's really hard. Yeah, so that was a good thing to learn. And it's amazing how many vocalists don't do it, and I'm completely hooked on it, and I won't bore you too much, but I mean, if you ask me, I'll really get into it.
Do you want to do one? Do you want to give an example? No, because they're too weird?
No, but there's stuff called flutterbees, so there's...
Flutterbees?
And you think it's really funny, but try it. It's not. It's like to get it to be a.
Did you make a lot of sound effects as a kid?
Probably.
Like the Jetsons sound? Because that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sound of the Jetsons car.
And then
there.
there's the one with their tongue, which is same thing, all about loosening up. And then there's vowels, so the A, E, I, O, U with consonants in front, sounds, and those all get the resonators in you. So you do enough of this stuff, and it's amazing. You'll start sneezing, you'll start yawning. You're sort of like, wow, this is. But it's really good because it's like anything. If you suddenly decided, all right, I'm going to take up jogging, and you go out and run a mile, you will be absolutely fucked within half a block.
Wow.
But if you work up to it, that's the thing.
You teach songwriting too, don't you, actually?
A little bit, yeah.
Have you started to factor in vocal warm-ups to the songwriting
I try
teaching?
to, but most people aren't really interested.
Have you started writing songs with those sounds in them yet? Christine, you know?
I'll leave that to Bobby McFerrin.
Good call. Or me, I could pick it up. You know, the world needs a new Roger Miller, I think.
Yes.
You know, we mentioned a lot of national names earlier, like we were talking Cash a lot, but we didn't talk Roger Miller at all.
No, I came to him late. But one of my favorite sayings, those who live by the song die by the road.
Whoa.
That's Roger Miller.
That's a Roger Miller quote?
Yeah,
Whoa, that's a heavy
Live by
one.
the song, die by the road. It's a really good quote.
That is intense. I actually heard a bootleg of him once where somebody walked out after King of the Road, like they got their money.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
in the recording, this live recording, he's like, "Well, they got their money. Thanks for coming out anyway, folks. So now for the rest of you, what do you want to hear? Like, let's get it out of the way." But he was definitely at that point in his career where he was like tired of the song. He'll still do it for them.
It's like Ron Hines in Sonny's Dream. I mean, there was people in the audience. They would talk through his whole set, and then he'd sing that, and they go, "Oh God, I love that," and then they'd leave. He was so mad at those people.
Heartbreaking after a while, yeah. And now you've written enough songs. Do you still get that feeling with certain songs that you're like, I want everybody to really connect on this one song, or are you pretty comfortable that people take what they want from certain songs?
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing to complain about at all about anything. And so I've just sort of accepted that I'm not really. It seems I've done little polls unofficially on Facebook. What songs do you want me to play? And you think that you might get a sort of a set list, like the same 10 songs, but no, it's like these people want this stuff, and it's all different. Which I kind of wondered if that was a bad thing or a good thing. I couldn't really decide, but it seems like somebody just, what did you ask for? Rave on Captain? Like, that is really obscure song, but that's a song that connected with somebody, and I love that. I don't think I have songs where it's like everybody would go, "Oh yeah, well that one for
That's
sure."
the song?
Yeah, I don't know if I have those songs. Don't really have. I did a collection, and I had to call it the best of Stephen Miller because I couldn't call it greatest hits because there wasn't one single hit on
Oh,
there.
come on.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I mean a hit is a bona fide thing. It's like, it's a
Billboard chart?
quantifiable thing, and I've never had that ever.
You have actually, your live album is one of the best live albums I've ever heard, man.
Nice.
It sounds so good. The
That's Colin
audience is
Linden.
there.
Yeah,
Oh, Colin produced
yeah.
it?
Colin produced it.
Okay. And it's just so honest. One man
It
on a
is.
guitar, but again, you ripped in that.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you for putting out an honest live album.
You're welcome. It was fun. It was an interesting. We did 2 nights at I think it was the Flying Cloud Folk Club in Toronto, and we had an elaborate microphone setup so that we recorded stereo pair here, stereo pair at the back of the room, a little mic station here, and another one there with vintage mics and modern mics, and I could go back and forth. And the very first
Holy
night,
smokes.
I had in-ears, so I wasn't using monitors because they were going to bleed into the microphones. So I was using in-ears, and it was sort of early in-ear technology, basically earbuds. All I could hear was taxis. Roger. And like addresses, and I had to rip them out. And then, so the first night was a wash. Like, there was like serious technical problems.
Whoa.
We got through it, but there was nothing to keep. And then the second night, about 10 minutes before showtime, the cook in the kitchen decided to empty the grease traps on the chipper and spilt the bucket of. Have you ever smelled like what comes out of those things? It's like I can't even describe it. It's the most foul Catholic-smelling kind of open casket, sort of. It's like some kind of religious, whoa.
Oh, yeah, you
and
even
that
bombed 1,000
smell
fries.
wafts through the audience that I'm about to play to for my live recording. And this is the last night. So my then girlfriend at the time is running through with incense, which really heightens the kind of religious aspect of it. Eventually, we got it all sorted, but it was do or die.
That's chaos.
Yeah,
right
it was
before
do
you
or die
recorded.
that night because we had all the gear set up and we weren't coming back.
Do you have any tips for musicians of like how to focus through that kind of chaos before a show?
It's definitely the duck, so the legs are going like this, but on the surface it's calm. Warm up before the show. That's really important. So whatever you have to do to warm up, if you have to go sit in your car and do vocal things, go do that. Go for a long walk. The worst thing you can do is sit around and then jump on stage. You have to get pumped up. You got it wound up.
What'd you do that night?
Oh, I was so wound up. I had to go for a long walk and breathe deep and calm down. It's mostly, for me, it's not about winding up, it's calming down so that I don't kind of, start at 10 because there's nowhere to go. So I've learned to start a little lower. Although tonight was really nervous. Because I don't do this, right? This is like, I've got a way of doing a show. You get on stage, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Fearing, plug in, thank you very much, play the song, and you're in.
Yeah.
And this is like, I'm sitting here, and you're doing your intro, and I have to sit here. And it's like,
It's so. Can I tell you how nervous I was too? I'm so glad you were nervous. That makes me less nervous.
Well, you never get rid of that ever, and if you do, I think it's over.
It's over.
I mean, I think the nerves is a big part of being wound up.
Good.
I don't think it's nervousness so much as it's energy. There's a lot of energy moving because you're about to go and go. Blah,
Were you an energetic kid too?
I think so.
Introverted and energetic?
Yeah, I was
Cool.
always long. I was never like I was always the kid that wanted to go long distance running. Like I
Alone.
could run for a long time. Like that was my thing.
Wow.
But I wasn't like a sprinter. So I had a lot of energy, but it was always sort of like long. I'm a Capricorn.
This explains your longevity in the industry too. You've paced yourself. I see.
Okay.
That's a good game. I'm taking a lot of notes tonight from your set, from your pedal rig here. I've learned a lot just watching you set up. So thanks for letting me be honest with you about nervousness too.
Yeah, it's I don't trust anybody who says they're not nervous before they go on. You're a lying bastard.
Yeah. That's like, I just read that John Waters doesn't trust anybody who doesn't read the critics. And I think that's so true.
I love that. When artists are being interviewed and they say, "Oh, I never read that stuff," I was like, "You lying fuck! You do so. We all do."
Yeah, I heard it on your last
Yeah,
record.
I mean, you have to take it all with a pinch of salt. Even when they go, "He is the greatest thing ever," you have to go, "Okay, well, thanks."
Why is
But
it always England that says that?
Everybody, I'm really quite sure everybody reads them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Can I request another song?
you can try.
Things We Did.
Oh, sure.
Thinking about that live record. Do you want me to Google the lyrics real quick?
No, it's just the little guitar thing at the end.
This is the ragtime. This is where I heard some real ragtime influence, and I was so curious.
I might not do the fancy ending.
That's okay. Oh yeah, no, that's a slick riff.
I'm the man who tells the world about the things we did, the things we did, the things we did, all the faces we wore and the ones we keep hid. The man who tells the world about the things we did. I got this job when I was 17. The old man dragged me in. He showed me how a life and times is just a black and white picture and 5 short lines. Then I took the reins at 21. This paper was the old man's life. He went to get lunch, but he never came back. So I printed his picture preacher and I called his wife. I'm the man who tells the world about the things we did, the things we did, the things we did. All the faces we wore and the ones we keep hid. The man who tells the world about the things we did. When the new boss arrived, he was 35 and as sharp as the edge of his degree. I should have smelled a rat when the banker came around. I should have seen the money walking out of this town. They said, this place is like a museum. It's an ode to the ancient and the strange. And they laughed at my pencils and my legal pad. One click of the keyboard and the whole world changed. Trudeau was a pirouette, Earhart was a plane, and Martin Luther King became his dream. Maybe we become the love that our children carry with them. Give them the key to your heart if it's the only thing you give them. Now it's getting late and the reaper won't wait. It's time for me to set my story down. I put the ugly with the pretty, the bad beside the good. Print it like I wrote it, 'cause you know that I would. I'm the man who tells the world about the things we did, the things we did, the things we did. All the faces we wore and the ones we keep hid. The man who tells the world about the things we did. All the faces we wore and the ones we keep hid. The man who tells the world about the things we did. Thank you. There's a riff.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful riff. I wouldn't expect you to throw that.
So you know
in.
Tom Allen, CBC Tom Allen?
Oh, yeah, not Tim Allen, right. Okay.
Tom, he does, I think it's called Drive or
yeah.
Shift. I can't remember which one. It's the classical music show. So Tom is a friend, and he arrived at my house when I was still in Halifax with this story, short story that he'd written about the obituary writer of a small town newspaper. And when it's time, like, who's going to write the obituary for the obituary writer? And that was the gist of that song. So we started writing that together. And he was kind enough to let me he sort of had it like 2/3 of the way there and let me run with it and finish it.
It feels so autobiographical in a way.
Huh.
It feels like, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, you kind of took it, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's... There's a great line which I got from somebody. They were talking about songwriters, and they said, you know, Johnny Cash did not shoot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Like, that's not true.
I would hope not.
And I thought, yeah, that's right. And
That's
so
Jerry Lee Lewis.
I've been splitting this hair now for several years, which is, I don't think of myself as a singer-songwriter. And the reason I don't is because that's a genre. And it's a particular genre, and it involves things that are called confessional songs. And honestly, it makes me want to puke when I think about confessional songs, because I'm not confessing. I mean, it's not like, oh, please help me. It's finding something truthful, honest, and if you can write a song about that connects with other people, then that's a good song. And well, I think that is songwriting.
Well, I
disagree.
Yeah, you're...
Yes, of course you can. But I mean,
Heckler.
singer-songwriting is like this. It's a genre, and it's songwriters can write about whatever the hell they want, because so I think of a songwriter like Richard Thompson. Richard's always writing songs about characters that he would never be himself. Some of them are not pleasant people. Joni may be more a singer-songwriter. I think a lot more of her stuff is more autobiographical.
It's such a genre.
Joni is in her own category completely. but I don't think of her in that way.
Sorry, I just want to interject and find out. Do you want to spend the rest of the night debating certain singer-songwriters and whether or not they're in their genres? No.
What
Okay,
I'm trying to say
sure.
is, if you free yourself from the idea of having to be autobiographical, then you can write about anything. But it has to have a grain of truth in it. And so how can you relate to that? How can you relate to somebody else's story? So how can I relate to a small town obituary writer? I know nothing about it.
Right.
So,
yeah,
but it's a
obituary.
lighthearted song. It's not like, oh my God,
No,
I'm dying.
yeah.
You know, it's very lighthearted. But you try and write it in a way. It's gotta fit. The hat's gotta fit. Otherwise, nobody's gonna believe it.
There's so much humor in it. I think that's why I thought of Roger Miller too when I was like listening to some of your lyrics, because I was like,
My friends, whether you want to call it autobiographical or not, beautiful singer-songwriter, you.
oh, that's sweet. Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
just. That's
And
high
I love
praise.
singing my own songs. It's just well, you get it. Okay.
This came up 2 episodes ago. So if you'd like, you should go download episode 10 of the podcast. Actually, no, it's episode 13. This came up with Corey Eisner. Episode 14 with Corey Eisner. Go listen to that. Maybe get your phone out right now. I'll allow it. Download the episode. And Corey Eisner and I actually got talking about how like singer-songwriter is such a weird genre title. Like it's pretty outdated in a way because every singer is a songwriter, or every songwriter usually has
there
to sing
was a
their
point
own.
where that was a new thing, and it was somewhere around Bob Dylan.
Right.
Because up until then, the idea of writing your own songs was nobody did that. It was you collected songs, old folk songs, or you sang pop songs that were written by pop song teams. But the idea of marrying the two in a folk genre was kind of new.
It's like cutting out the middle person in a way, eh? Yeah. One more throw in? Oh, this is your last one. Deal? Deal. Deal. Make the deal. Make the deal.
I know it's coming in at an angle. I'm just going to call in Bruce Guthrie,
Yes.
Nice.
Bless his heart. Yeah.
singer-songwriter.
Yes, he was.
Beautiful guy. Similar energy to you. Straight ahead. Family, honest.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Storytelling guy. Gonna do it. Gonna go put it out. We're all gonna
I'm just going to announce to the podcast listeners at this point that this woman's also standing in the middle of the room. Because this is recorded, I'm trying to convey to the rest of the world that's going to listen to this that you're standing in the middle of the restaurant telling everybody, yeah. I'm just so the listeners get the context of what is happening in Schoolhouse tonight. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Bruce definitely deserves a little shout out in there because we're all sad
he
that-
was a pretty special guy. I only met him a couple of times. I got to do his songwriting circle at the casino, and that was pretty special.
Is the songwriter circle is it a comfortable place for you? Because it can be really awkward.
The joy of sitting with other writers and listening to their songs and then throwing yours in, I love that. Oh yeah.
And it's
great.
actually like festivals kind of curate it, and it's
sometimes
comfortable still.
sometimes you're baking in the sun and you're thinking about your mortgage, but mostly it's a really enjoyable thing.
How do you balance the business aspect of like hitting the road alone? Because I saw you comment once about how so much of your job is actually not on stage. It's like bookkeeping and driving.
The playing is actually the reward. It's like this is the whole reason to do all the other stuff. So Elvis Costello talks about boxes, the boxes that you sleep in, the boxes that you drive in, the boxes that your luggage and clothing, like it's all. So the whole thing is about being able to do this. And yes, you got to get paid for it, but the paying part is so that you can continue to do this. This is actually the payment. And if you don't get that straight, you're hooped because there's not enough money to pay for the job that you do, because it's really, without whining, it's hard and it's miserable in places.
Right.
And it's also delightful. And, on the way up here I was down in Canning last night, and on the way up I stopped and visited my friends Celeste and Sue, and that's a huge part of it too, is I get to travel around the country and see friends and places that I love. So
Experience
that is
lifestyles,
the job. But it's really about the chance to play and connect with people. That's the whole point.
That's an incredible segue into another song.
Which is?
Um,
did you have one?
No, actually, I think I'll let you pick this
okay.
one.
I'm going to play, so I'm about to make a record.
Woo!
I'm going to go down to Nashville and record an album, which is very exciting. And I just did a big crowdfunding thing, which was really successful. And I'm still writing. So later on, I'll play one of the new songs. But this is a song that I'm going to re-record. Wow. And the reason I want to re-record it is because it was on The Unconquerable Past, which some people did hear, but a very small group of people heard it because it came out in November of 2019. And I never got to tour Canada with it. I still am. But I never did the big, I've got a new record, I'm crossing Canada tour, and you do the interviews, and sort of these dots that you join up when you release an album. I never got to do that. And basically, by the time I actually got to put the album out, it was almost 3 years old. Wow. So I didn't feel like the songs really got their due, and so I made the decision to re-record this one. And I love the song because I just love the song because I feel like it's a conversation with a fictitious person named Marie. So the name Marie came into my head, and this riff, and I couldn't understand who Marie was and why. And I started to focus on, remember 2016? It seems like a long time ago, but 2016 was sort of when the gloves came off in a lot of ways. Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that we're now sort of looking at and taking for granted kind of started then. And there was this period with Twitter especially where women came in for an incredible amount of verbal abuse for stating political opinions. And it was especially focused on women, and it was especially toxic. And I was intrigued by it, and I happened to live with Christine, who's a heart full of soul and a soul full of gasoline, so don't fuck around with that woman. So I was very conscious of it, and so this is a song a conversation between me and this woman, Marie. She said, brace yourself for the shit show coming down tomorrow. 'Cause I believe it's all gonna look a whole lot different than it does today. Remember all that time we begged and we stole and we borrowed? Well, the fix is in and the piper's getting paid. And fuck those greedy liars, midnight riders with the power and the glory. Their tinfoil hat religion and their dark conspiracies. The brown shirts are back and the boys are hanging out with the Tories. Now we're one sad plastic planet floating out to sea. All the tears that we've cried, all the sorrow and the need. Hold on to my hand, don't let go of it, don't let go of me. How strange we are, how magnificently broken. You know, even a busted clock can tell the time twice a day. every one of us was lying there, overcome and choking. Well, I wonder, would we argue the last gasp of this precious life away? All the tears that we've cried, all the sorrow and the need. Hold on to my hand, don't let go of it, don't let go of me, Marie. All the tears we've cried, all the sorrow and the need. Hold on to my hand, don't let go of me, don't let go of us, Marie.
That was your 2016 song?
I wrote it in 2019, in the summer of 2019, and released it. But I was really thinking about what had happened in those 3 years in between and how things had changed so much. For instance, I would never have said "fuck" in a song. Like, it just wouldn't have occurred to me. And I found myself tweeting stuff, to the President of the United States, which is like, what? So yeah, everything's changed, and so it sort of felt being really angry in a song felt appropriate.
And you'd never done that before? You'd never
Not
gotten
like
angry?
that. I've been angry in the kind of righteous, angry young man way, you
Right.
know,
And
the
channeling.
patriarchy or whatever, capitalism, but
Yeah.
not like that. I wanted to channel somebody else's anger, but also, of course, is mine.
It's such
but
it's
it's sort of intimate, like close, like the way you can be angry with a really good friend and talk about something that's really, really hurts, that kind of thing.
It's very welcoming.
Not politically angry.
Right,
Yeah.
like family anger
Yeah,
that can
or
be
just,
resolved.
it's more important stuff. I found that a lot of times there's sort of posing, and this is, people are going to like this. It's right on, and I want it to be a little more sincere.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Because I haven't heard many people address the "Are we going to argue this life away" thing. In
I mean,
songs.
Jesus Christ. Folk festivals used to be these places where everybody would go, and we might not like the same band, but we were all going to go and hang out with each other, and it was totally unimportant if we voted differently. None of that mattered, but seems like nowadays you can't do anything or say anything without having to nail your colors to the wall and fight to the death. And it's our superpower as human beings. We can't see, compared to other animals, worth shit. We have terrible claws. Like there's nothing that we do extremely well except for community, which is the one thing that humans are unbelievably good at, and we're about to, blow it up.
Right,
Like
yeah.
the community part.
Attack
That's-
each other
yeah.
and rip it all apart.
Time to start looking at the community part.
Yeah. Windsor's been through it, apparently. Windsor's actually on the other side of it, where they're like, no, we're good again. We're back together. No, I'm just kidding. There's no one here from Windsor anyway, so it works out. You're on the outskirts. Yeah, that's like, to write songs that heavy and swear in them, it always seems like a really risky move for songwriters. Or saying the word Facebook in a song or something. It's so tacky, Like,
Or router.
Router.
Wi-Fi.
You did it, though. No.
Never put Wi-Fi in a song. Haven't yet. May do.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Someday
there's still
when it's
time.
like, wow, remember Wi-Fi? That was That's old school, man.
Is there anything you've always wanted to write about on an album? Like, is there anything you've always wanted to do, a crazy concept album about Cheetos?
No, I can't honestly say yes. I mean, when Ken Coomer, this is the guy I'm going to make this record with in Nashville, he sent me an email in January of 22. Hey man, I heard one of your songs on the radio or on Spotify, and I really liked your music. And if you ever want to make a record with me, let me know. I thought it was a scam. I didn't know anything about him. So he was the drummer in Wilco for the first 4 records. He was in a band called Uncle Tupelo, which is really important, seminal kind of Americana. The Big Bang of Americana was this young band called Uncle Tupelo. So. Oh, okay. So I wrote back to him and said, well, yeah, And his big question was, what's the record you've always wanted to make? And I thought, well, that's a bit of a gimmicky question. And I thought about it. I went, well, that's the next one. The one, the next record. Like it all starts with the songs, and then they kind of lead you, and you start trying to find a way to put them together if they don't already have an obvious glue and some kind of cohesive thread. It's usually there because the subconscious is amazing, and it's always chugging away in the background, just waiting for you to get the hell out of the way so it can write the song. And so there's always going to be threads, but you sort of have to come up with a story or some kind of thing to talk about in interviews and stuff. And then what's really weird is as you start talking about it, you realize that it's true.
It's all
yeah, there is a
itself
thread
for you.
There's stuff, but sometimes you have to kind of talk your way around to find it. It's a strange thing, but starting with a concept like I want to make a record about Cheetos, it always comes after when I look at it and go, that's how these songs are connected.
Is that more difficult for you to realize that you have a theme? Like, are you like put off by it? I didn't try to write this angry record, or
no. It's I'm amazed by how it works, and I've been doing this I'm 60. Even saying that kind of makes me go, what? But I'm amazed by how it works because I still haven't figured it out.
You still feel like you're summoning songs, sort of?
I don't know if I'm summoning them, but I'm learning how to get out of the way of myself, which goes back to Willie P. Bennett's thing. Take the music very seriously. Do not take yourself seriously. And get the hell out of your own way because the songs are there. So there's this really good, if you're into songwriting or creativity of any kind, there's this really good book that you got to read called Big Magic. And it's by Elizabeth Gilbert. And Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which I never read. But I gather some people loved it and some hated it. But it catapulted her from kind of obscure New York writer into worldwide fame and fortune. Like, it was massive worldwide hit. And so she found herself in bookstores signing books, and people do that thing, which they always do, is, what's your next book about? She's like, I don't know. I'm just signing this one. Let me at least live this out for a while. And so she started looking into that whole creative process, and she's very firmly of the idea, and she gives some pretty interesting examples of how it can work, but she feels that ideas are actually out there in the ether.
Okay.
And they come to you and they go, are you interested in this? And if you are, then there's a protocol to follow, which is get your pen and paper out and take it seriously. Like, take it seriously, not fuck around. If you have to leave the party or if you have to get out of bed, then that's what you do. And you write it down and you give it attention, and then maybe it'll come through. Maybe it won't, but it'll never just sort of go, okay, well, I'm waiting until you're ready, sir. So you have to be on guard. You have to be, your antenna has to be up at all times. Yeah. And then when the ideas come to you, as they do, and I don't know, that part I don't really understand. Is it the subconscious coughing them up, or is it indeed some entity, as she believes, floating around?
Yeah.
I don't really care, but I know that when they show up, I got to pay attention and I got to give them justice. And sometimes you'll write an idea down in your notebook, and you're in the middle of a long drive, and 2 weeks later you come upon the idea and there's absolutely nothing there. You look at it and go, I have no idea why I found this sentence interesting. There's nothing. And other times you'll go, oh, yeah, there it is. And then you you work on that song.
Have you kept your journals over the years?
They're not journals, but they're notebooks full of scribbles and ideas and crossed out things. And yeah.
How many years back do those go?
I'm not sure exactly. I wasn't very organized early on, so I wasn't keeping stuff, but probably about 10, 20 years.
Can I ask you a weird question that's going to sound like an egotistical question, but I think it's something that a lot of artists do think about. Do you ever keep stuff like that in the hopes that somebody might find it for your book eventually?
No, I'm terrified. I mean, that stuff is so awkward and unfinished and raw that I probably, because I've kept interviews, when you go to the radio station, they go, you want to record this? I said, sure.
Right.
You're going to record
That's what
this?
we're doing.
Sure.
That's the whole point.
It'll
Yeah.
go in a box, and I got a box full of cassettes and then CDs, and I've got...
Will you put this on cassette?
What's that?
Will you put this on cassette then?
No, I won't. But back in the day,
I'll
that's what
send
we
you a
recorded
cassette.
on, right?
I'll dub it for you.
And posters from shows and all. I collected it all just because I collect it.
Okay.
But I might give it to like UBC or one of the universities. They're interested because they can triangulate my archives with an obscure writer, poet, and then they get a sense of what was happening in the scene in Vancouver in 1988.
That's beautiful.
They get a sense of it. So you can give them your stuff, and you get a little tax write-off, but it's really...
What?
You get a little tax write-off for your,
donating your body
archives.
of work?
Yeah.
It's like a musical cadaver at that point.
Well, some people study this stuff, right?
Yeah,
Whether or not you're quote-unquote famous, it's not really important, is if you have kept a collection of stuff your whole life, that's like a time capsule that researchers are very interested in that stuff because it's a little sliver. It's like a core sample of your life. And
UBC's not
you
asking you for a core sample, though, right?
Pardon me?
UBC's not asking you for a core sample, right? I'm just making sure because that's a scam.
The stipulation will be you can't do anything with this till I'm long gone.
Oh,
because
okay.
Especially those notebooks. I don't want. I mean, when they published Kurt Cobain's notebooks, it was like I don't want to see that. That was his private stuff. And the deal when you're a writer is that you can write absolutely anything you want to write. You cannot censor yourself. There's no censor. It goes on the page. That's totally legit. Be it whatever it is. You want to write about dragons, or if it's violent or whatever, you write it down. That's the deal. But nobody sees it until you say, has to be.
You're not going to burn your...
You can't censor yourself.
You're not going to burn the stuff you really don't want anyone to see, though, right?
No. I haven't really thought about it. It's just if I gave it away, I wouldn't want somebody publishing it.
Right.
It's not... Well, you asked me if I was secretly hoping that... It's like, no, I am not hoping that people see it. I'm not interested in that at all. I mean, there's things that I would love people to see because I'm proud of them and I've polished them and I've nudged them and tweaked them. That stuff, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. That's the stuff I sing.
Yeah, exactly. You share what you want everyone to know. Who would you want to play you in the movie about your life?
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm so curious.
I have no idea.
You got a good mug. I feel like it has to be someone charming.
I've heard
like
Nicolas Cage more than once.
Really?
And when I got into the goggles, it was like, oh, there's a bit of an Elvis Costello vibe. I don't know.
I love that that's your go-to voice, the English, like, oh, he better be
well,
good.
grew up in Ireland, and whenever you're making fun of anything, you put on an English voice.
Upper crust.
Yeah, Monty Python.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Are you going to move back to Ireland? Are you going to retire there?
No.
Are you going to retire in Nova Scotia?
No, I'm probably going to stay in BC. I do love it, even though I got to tell you, and this is honest, not blowing smoke up your skirts. I landed at Stanfield Airport. Now, I haven't been here for 5 years, but I lived in Halifax for 8 years. And I got off the airport at Stanfield, and I was looking around, and everybody went, oh, my God, I'm back at the East Coast. These people are happy. You guys are friendly. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's really tangible when you come in from the outside, especially if you know what you're looking for. It's quite tangible. And I love the West Coast. The weather suits my clothes,
Nice, yeah.
But people are a little bit,
Okay.
And it's not, you can walk out on Christmas Day and say Merry Christmas to people, and they'll pretend they've got earbuds in.
Nice, yeah. I
They
grew
won't
up in
say-
Toronto,
they'll
so I know what you mean.
They'll just ghost you.
Yeah, I think
fucking
if your
weird.
family survived that trip out
Yeah.
and you didn't lose 30 children, then you would probably act like that too. You'd be cold and you'd be not trusting of anybody. And then you lived through the gold panning era. I'd be pretty skeptical.
So it is nice to be here, but I'm done with snowblowers, and I'm done with painting my house every summer.
Right, and Lunenburg and stuff
Yeah.
here too. Yeah, you talked a bit about the Yukon before we got this started too. Like you used to go up there quite a bit, and I'm curious. Out of all, I'm not going to ask you your favorite place in Canada, unless you want to answer that question. But
I don't know. There's always things that I love. I mean, I did love living here because I found people to be very friendly and welcoming. I just couldn't take the constant battering of the weather. Like it was just harsh. And I know you've just gone through so much, and it's like, oh yeah, West Coast boy, cry me a river.
Oh, you
but
guys
I was
got
like, it's not for me.
wildfires.
And my missus too. She grew up in Newfoundland, and she's like, no, we're at West Coast, so.
I
There's
get
things
it.
I love about everywhere, but there's usually a pros and cons list.
Oh, if I could,
So
I'd live in
same with the
Mexico.
West Coast.
I hear you, man.
I don't know if I'd live there.
But where would you want to tour next? Like, where's somewhere that you haven't toured
Asia.
at?
I really want to go to Asia. I really want to go. I'd love to play in Japan and Korea and China. Love to. Never been there. I would like to go there with a guitar in my hands and connect with those people.
I know for a fact we have Japanese listeners. You heard it, Japan. Book him. He's waiting for you. Please book him. Sorry, I had to appeal to the
No, that's
listeners.
great. Please, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to go there. I love the food. I'd be fascinated by being there as a player. That would be interesting. Never been to Australia. Really want to go there, but
good
I think
folk scene.
it would be more familiar. I'd love to go and tour somewhere where I am completely the minority and I don't speak the language, and just see how
Oh.
that works.
Just to test your songs out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I play in Germany and I play in Denmark, and so starting to get into English not so good territory.
Nice.
And if you're a blues player or you're a Celtic player, it doesn't matter. The English doesn't matter. But if you're doing what I do, it really does. It's story songs. Lyrics are really important. So it starts to get diffused pretty quick when I'm in those countries. So it's challenging.
I just thought of another song I would love to hear
All right,
if you...
try me.
The Finest Kind?
Sure.
Really? I get to retune your guitar. We broke the drop D rule.
No, we're still in drop D.
Okay.
I've been dumped, I've been sore, hard to get, and then I got what for. I bought the ring, but we fell apart. She bent my mind and broke my heart, and with a warm love letter, the finest of the dear John kind. I picked my bones on every stage when singing songs was all the rage. I sold my back when I needed cash. I lost my car when I found my stash. Cuffed and collared by the government's finest kind. The finest kind. Oh, cruel winds are always blowing colder, and a hard rain is never far behind. Come on, darling, rest your head upon the shoulder of the finest kind. The finest kind. Ah, the finest of the finest kind. afflicted, life addicted. I paid my money, but I lost my ticket. I rolled the stones and I walked the blues. I stretched my stride, trimmed my fuse when I went running with the finest of the traveling kind. The traveling kind. Oh, cruel winds are always blowing colder, and a hard rain is never far behind. Come on, darling, rest your head upon the shoulder of the finest kind, the finest kind. Ah, the finest of the finest kind, the finest kind. Ah, the finest of the finest kind.
Wow.
Woo! That was fun. Thank you for asking for that one.
I just need to make sure my face is still on. Holy shit, man. That's amazing. Thank you for gluing on those nails.
Yeah, they're. Tell you what.
I haven't seen one fly off yet, so that was incredible. I guess I think we should wrap this up. I feel like it's dark outside. The coyotes are starting to growl outside.
Really?
No, I just wanted to see if the audience would make coyote noises. No, I do have a lot of coyotes to deal with at my place, though. But it's not a problem you have to worry about tonight. I'll be safe. I'll text you when I get home.
Okay.
Okay. But I guess we all want to thank you so much
totally
for making
my
this
pleasure.
trip, man.
I've never ever felt anything but gratitude to be able to do this, and it just sounds like, oh my God, shut up. But honestly, I get to do this. This is how I make my living. It's really quite amazing. So thank you.
No, you give a lot back, man.
But
like even the enjoyment
really,
on your face playing
oh yeah,
that
but I
tune.
love it. I mean, I get to do what I love, and I get paid for it too. It's really quite something. So I'm very lucky, and I never lose sight of that. Ever.
That is inspirational. Even as an artist, it's inspirational to see someone have that kind of joy and walk the walk.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But also talk the talk and be yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I really doesn't. I've been talking a lot about this because it comes up quite a bit. I mean, it's really about the doing of this. That's what's important. The rest of it is just fucking whatever. And if you can afford to continue to do this, then that's it. That's the gig.
Yeah. So thank you guys.
Yeah, very much.
All you audience members deserve to pat each other on the back and reward each other for coming out to events like this.
It's a contract between us, and over COVID it got broken pretty badly, and I was worried it wasn't going to come back. I wasn't trying not to be too dramatic, but honestly, the fact that you guys show up, it's just tremendous. So thank you so much.
Well, we'll be back when the next record comes out. And the next record, you have some albums with you tonight, right?
There's some stuff if you want to buy some CDs. I have some CDs. Can I play one more?
Ah, please.
Okay,
Please.
I want
How
to
do you
play a
wanna
new
end the
one.
show? Oh, yeah.
So I want to play a new one. This is going to be on the new record. And so there's a thing you have to do when you're applying for to Factor. Do you know about Factor grants? Mm-hmm. Some of you do. So Factor is this joint industry and government granting body, and you'd be amazed at how much Canadian music is made because they apply to Factor. They don't actually give you that much money for recording, but they give you a serious chunk of money towards updating your website, making videos, hiring publicists, and even going out on a tour that's going to lose money so that you can get into new markets. That's what the Factor grant's about. And it's really great, but you have to jump through hoops. And one of the things they want to know is, what's the name of the record that you're going to record, and what are the titles of the 10 songs? And officially, 6 songs is what is now considered an album.
Oh, wow.
So it has to be at least 6 songs. So I've written, I think at the point I did the application, which was in April, I think I had 5 songs under my belt. So I was like, I don't know what the title of 10 songs is. I don't know what the album's called. I mean, I'm not going to record till March of 2024. So it seemed a bit ridiculous in April of 2023 that I'm having to answer this. But I thought, okay, sure, I know how to play this game. So I wrote down the 5 titles of the songs I had. And then I just sat there in my office and I looked at book titles and I thought of interesting song titles. And I wrote them down. And one of them just came out of nowhere was The Empathist. And I thought, I don't even think that's a word. Because if you're into empathy, you're an empath. Now, empath always makes me think of Star Trek. It's like a Star Trek character where there's no pupils. It's like white eyeballs, and I'm the empath. You know, it's kind of like this weird
brain.
Empathy is something I hold very dear, and we sorely lacking it in our society. But the word empath is weird. So the empathist is kind of more ravine. There's this kind of a
scary
the
vibe,
empathist, yeah, and it's like a tarot card that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I thought, that's what I'm going to call this album for the Factor application, because it made me laugh and it was sort of weird and cheeky and it was, as far as I know, nobody's ever called an album that before. And then I started thinking about it and I started remembering this flirtation that I had when I was much younger with this woman, and that's all I'm going to tell you. Play the song. I met her as the partner of the famous singer-songwriter. We were both outsiders, and I think that was the start of what became a kind of friendship. 'Cause we were never lovers, we were drawn together. She was wise and she was witty, she was proud and she was pretty. But I know that he just saw himself reflected in her beauty, and the light of his desire flickered like a fire in a mirror. And I knew that she was wise to the limelight and the lies and the peacocks with their feathers and their fists. I called her a lightning rod, she called me the empathist. She said, you just might be civilized 'cause you were raised by women, so you've got an inkling how the other half's been living. And she winked at me with one eye, smiled with the other, but she held me out at arm's length and she called me little brother. And in the space between was a lifetime of dreams and those fairy tales that some men can't resist. She was the patron saint of troubadours, and I was the empathist. Years go by, and the scales fall from our eyes as we roll and rise on the wind. All that I have been, every story in between, takes me back to where it began. The last time I saw her, she was living in a trailer. Her kid had gone to college and her cheeks a little paler. And we sat up all night talking of the joys and the sorrow. We were both a little lonely, here today and gone tomorrow. And I know that we tried between the taro and the wine to find a whisper of kismet in a kiss. Oh, but she drew the empress, and I was drawn the empathist. I met her as the partner of the famous singer-songwriter. We were both outsiders, and I think that was the start of what became a kind of friendship. 'Cause we were never lovers, we were drawn together.
Keep it going, everybody, for Stephen Fearing. Thank you so much, man, for doing this. Thank you.
Do you have like a jingle? Like, do, Zach?